Every time I do a catch and cook on a fish that appears to be undersized, based on the guidelines and regulations of somebody else's state, I always get comments about how the fish that I'm taking is illegal. This is a largemouth bass. We don't have a minimum size requirement or a maximum size requirement for largemouth bass. So this small, tiny bass I can catch, keep, and cook and eat it. Same thing with the pike that I caught yesterday. And I find it really weird that I actually have to make a video like this and address this because it doesn't seem like people understand how to read laws and regulations on every state and how it actually applies to each individual on which region they're in. Because in Minnesota, we have 3 different regions for pike because each region requires different ecological needs. And so the laws and regulations in those regions are different. The 3 regions that we have is a north central, northeast, and southern region. I live in the region that's considered as north central. The regulations there in north central is completely different from the other locations. The possession limit is 10. I get to keep 10 pike, and only 2 of those 10 pike can be longer than 26 inches. But there's another section too. Any pike between 22 and 26 inches has to be released immediately. And that is the law and regulation in the north central location that I'm living in. And you might notice that there was no word on pike being smaller than 22 or 26 inches or anything like that. There isn't a size minimum. The DNR in Minnesota is encouraging people to catch the smaller pike and keeping it because they're trying to maintain the population and help grow the other populations of the other species of fish. And so the small northern pike that I caught was legal size. The fact that I have to make a video like this is ridiculous. Like, if you're fisherman at all, like I'm an amateur, I'm a beginner fisherman, and that was probably one of the very first things that I learned. I learned that there's laws and regulations that are different in every single state. There's laws and regulations that are different in the same state even. So like, that was the north central laws and regulations. The laws in the northeast location is 2 pike. You're only allowed to catch and keep 2 pike in the northeast location or region in Minnesota. And then any pike that you catch between 30 to 40 inches has to be released immediately. You can only keep 1 pike that is over 40 inches. And then the southern region has a similar law and regulation just as the northeast location. So yeah, even in Minnesota, we have different regions and different laws and regulations regarding pike and the size limits and the possession limits. And that's not even all. We have laws and regulations per individual lakes itself. So there are certain lakes in Minnesota that has different laws and regulations on top of the current ones that I just read to you. You call yourself a fisherman and for some reason you get angry at somebody else catching a fish that is within their laws and regulations, you don't know anything about fishing. So I don't know why all of these people are coming out of the wet works and just crying about fish that I'm keeping legally.